So this podcast was brought to you by SciSpace Computer Solutions. SciSpace Computer Solutions, your solution to computer problems, available here only at Mankayan Benguet. If you have problems on your computer, like if you need formatting, troubleshooting, or software installation, virus cleaning, data or file recovery, say for example you accidentally deleted your data or file in a USB or in a storage like external hard drive and the likes, you can call computer size space computer solutions and they can do things magic to retrieve your files. You need encoding or scanning and photo editing, you can have or you can call Size-Space Computer Solutions. You can find them on Facebook or you can just text 0946-952-3933. All right, so welcome to El Maestro Speaks podcast where I talk about things, different things, or I talk about different things with other people. Right now, this is a solo podcast. I mean, I don't have someone with me to have my conversation with. So it's just me. All right. And by the way, you can also access this podcast in Spotify or in Google Podcast. So I'm always fascinated with learning because I like to learn a lot of things. When I was young, I want to learn how to play the guitar. I got through that. Also want to learn drums. Until now, I don't know how to do that. I'm finding time to learn how to. Want to learn how to play the piano. I know a little bit of how to, and other musical instruments. I want to learn how to do things actually. And the thing is, I don't have the patience to do that. So I'm kind of always looking of ways or hacks, words of people nowadays, or shortcuts, word of my generation, on how to do that or how to learn things. And through my research and listening to other podcasts, I discovered that there's no really shortcut in doing things. But that is kind of a bummer, right? Because we really learn, we want to learn, but what's lacking is that we really don't have time. So the only remedy or the solution or the so-called hack for that one is to deconstruct the things that you want to learn. Now, uh, I found a book. It's called How to Learn Everything in 21 Hours. I think I talked about this on the previous episode of this podcast. But then, of course, that the steps on that one works too. So basically, on the research that I've did, so I learned about that, and then I also listened to other things from other podcasts on how to do that. And the bottom line of that thing of the research is that mostly if you want to learn something you have to, okay, in the book How to Learn Everything in 21 Hours, take note, 21 hours. And 21 hours doesn't mean you have to concentrate your time a day and a night to learn something. No, that is an accumulation of times, like say 21 hours and you can have that. Is that the thing I learned from that is the deconstruction of skills. You have to be very particular of the skill that you want to learn and you have to start small. That's the thing that I learned in that book by Josh Kaufman. I don't have a guide here, so uh, I, forgive me if I made a mistake of telling the author, but I think if I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that's Josh Kaufman. Kaufman? I don't know how to pronounce, Now, so bottom line there is that, so for example, you need to learn how to play guitar. You have to be very specific and you have to start small. So, starting small, if you don't know how to, is, well, I want to learn how to play guitar using one song. That will be very specific. That's the example always. An example that I'm using is doing that, uh, playing guitar in a song now, so that it would be small. Say you will say, I want to play guitar um, with using the song Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Why did I use that one? Because it's a simple song, and for sure the chords will be simple also. Then you can search the internet and then do things. You work your strumming there and the chords. That's how you start small, right? So it's pretty. And then you devote your 21 hours um, playing that one. So after 21 hours, maybe you can play it well. Now, you start from that and then you build up on it. So, by what I mean building up on it is that you, after learning that song, you try to search another song and then maybe using another chord, things like that. So you build up on that one. And then you do not do it like every day, you do it when you have your time. So that's how you progress, right? And progressing to this thing is the key to that is consistency. So you have to be consistent enough. So at least you'll have time to at least devote the time if you're so busy, like all the teachers of DepEd nowadays, printing modules, checking things, writing reports. This you have to find a little time, like 3 minutes a day is enough. And then the next day is a 3 minute a day until you will accumulate the 21 hours. It's like that. It doesn't mean that because it's 21 hours, you're going to use the 21 hours in a day. It's not like that. It's an accumulation of hours of practicing until you will get or you will attain your objective. So it is the key there is key to learning as to this book based on my observation is setting up a clear objective and then working through it and then you evaluate why do you need to set a clear objective so that you can be able to evaluate your outcome or the outcome of that certain objective. Now, one of the key to learning things fast is that it came from the Navy SEALs. Mostly, they're the most popular branch of the U.S. military. Navy SEALs are responsible in taking down the, what do you call that one? In America, the most evil person, Osama bin Laden, way back in the 2011, 2000, I don't know, early 2010, I guess. They're responsible for taking down the terrorists, and uh, they have the training. The thing, the bots training, and um, all sorts of training on how to do things in warfare. Now, one of the Navy SEALs I heard on one podcast said that becoming a Navy SEAL is not about training to be the toughest motherfucker in the planet. It's not. It's not that. It's not about that. It is about um, being able to be a fast learner. Say, for example, they were given an assignment to go to certain places where they need to learn the rudimentary language of that place, then they can be able to do that in a short amount of time. They, if they need to go to a place where they need to learn something new, something as new skill set that they need in a certain place, they were given a short time to do that one, and they can do that. And what's the reason for that one? It's because they have the key. It's like he said that if you want to learn something, I cannot remember the exact code, but you have to be aware of your biases. So forget your bias and open your mind. One of the greatest best advice I heard is that one. So forget your biases and open your mind to what is being given to you. The information that's being given to you, do not compare it to the things that you already know. That's what it means when it says that you have to forget, or I mean, forget your biases, and you're going to open your mind. So if there's an information coming into you about the thing that you need to learn, you have to forget the things that you know about that. Just absorb what is being given to you and try to work it out, and that will shorten the amount of time you will need to learn a certain skill. Now, I will cite myself as an example of this one. Way back when I was learning how to kick in the martial arts. Uh, so the way I was taught how to kick is in kicking there are different ways on how to kick. I was taught Originally I was taught the what they call it in the karate ways of kicking, which is totally different from, like, it's like a way of Muay Thai kicking in Muay Thai, throwing roundhouse. And when we were trying to learn Taekwondo, it's very difficult because I was not. I have my biases. I already knew, somebody taught me that that's how to kick, and when they're showing me new ways on how to do it, I cannot. I cannot learn it. It's so difficult for me because I have my bias. I was thinking that no, it's like that's weird, something like that. As compared to someone who never had any kicking lesson whatsoever beforehand, going in the gym and then trying to learn the way, or the taekwondo way of throwing a roundhouse. Actually, they learn it faster, better than me. So sometimes bias is the hindrance to learning. I also have this most of the time when somebody's showing me ways on how to edit things, and I mean showing me things on technical ways on how to do things, and because or in my mind, in the back of my mind, I'm telling myself that I know how to do that, and after going out in that seminar, on that training, I cannot, for the like, I don't know, I cannot even remember what was discussed in that training. So that is the effect of having a bias before going on to learn something. So Navy SEAL said, drop your bias and open your mind to anything. Gather as much as data as you can so you can learn faster. So I guess all people's brain is wired that way. So we cannot learn things. Say, for example, old people nowadays, when you give them phones, comparing it, being a generation that is on the bridge of this, what they call Generation X, and the generation of people. I mean, I saw how difficult communication is way back. where when you have to write letters, and then when you have to um, when you have to go to the phone booth at exactly this time because somebody on the other side of the world is gonna call. I witnessed that, and then I witnessed the situation right now we're in. You cannot just call a person; you can even see the person you're calling on the other side of the planet. So I've been to that changes, and I'm going off topic here, but I promise you there's a relation to what I'm saying a while back. So um, the thing there is, if you give a person, mostly all people, new technology, at the back of their mind, maybe it's just my opinion. It's not really based on research or based on science. They have their bias of thinking that uh, way back then it's simpler and it's easier to learn those things. My God, it's not those things. There's those technology back then is difficult to use as compared to the technology nowadays, but because it's their bias, it's the first thing that they learned, and in their mind that is easier. That's why if they were given new things, their bias prevents them from learning even the simplest thing that is given already to them. So that is one of the effect of that bias that we have in our brain due to the learning or the previous learning that we had. So, what do you think, or what is the best way then to try to remove this bias in our mind of when we want to learn things? So, most effective way is acknowledging that all of us, nobody is exempted in having a bias on themselves, right? So, all of us have that bias, and just acknowledge that we have that, and you try to be aware of it when you're learning new things, and then just try to gather information. Say, for example, you're trying to learn how to code, and then just absorb everything. If just look at how young children can easily learn things, right? Because they have no information beforehand of that thing, so they can easily learn it. They have no bias. They have no prior experience where they can compare things. So that's one way. Let's stop comparing the new information that we're having to the old information that we have. And that expedite and that speed up the way we learn things. That is according to my observation. So, learning. And then, so why am I very interested in these things? Like I said a while back, is I know, I don't know. I want to learn a lot of things. Uh, s- uh, maybe I'm the person they call a hobbyist. I start learning things, like start learning them, and then once I got to know what I want, and then I start losing interest, and then start moving to another new thing. It's always the case with me. I started learning guitar, and then I thought I was pretty good because I already know the minor chords, the major chords, the group of chords it goes together. I already know how to play songs. I'm using guitar because yeah, it's the easiest or the simplest example that I can have in my mind right now. So I started learning guitar once I learned about it, and then I can play along with songs even if I don't know. I can totally follow the tune of the song without looking at the chords, and I did that. And then after I got I lost my interest. I tried to move to another instrument because I thought I don't have anything to learn about guitar anymore. I'm I was mistaken because I didn't know about lead guitar and started learning it through my friends in college. Now, the thing there is, if I didn't have my bias, I would be a very good guitarist right now, but I have the bias me, so it didn't work well. I know how to a little bit, but didn't. I cannot play as better or as good as my friend. So, uh, those things. And right now, especially this generation, this era, wherein a lot of changes is happening so fast that you have to learn things fast also to adapt. And I think it's kind of working. And still, I just in my mind, I want to explain the way or how do we, because my belief there is if we can find out the ways of how human learn, then we can easily teach a skill to someone, or we can easily teach lessons to someone, because I believe, this is my personal philosophy, that um, teaching is the art of learning also. By that I mean, you cannot teach something if you don't know how to learn. It's like that. So mostly in the, of course, it's by the podcast name. I am a teacher, and during our college days and even in the masters, I mean, it took a little bit. I did not finish. I observed that the curriculum for them, for teachers, is mostly on, well, they have the theories on the ways of learning, like that. Mostly it is on the strategies of teaching things. Those are the most talked about things in that, I mean, in college. And oftentimes we overlook that in order to be a great teacher, you have to be able to know ways on how to learn, or the very basic, the root of learning, or the root of the ways on how to learn. That might help in teaching. That's one of the reason why I was so interested in the art of learning. That's it. Deconstructing things. Say, for example, it's what I do with dancing. I really hate dancing. I don't know how to dance. That's one thing you know about me. Now, you know that I really hate how to, but sometimes if I need to, then I do deconstructing. So I start by looking at the dance as a whole, and then I try to divide it. So I think they have a term for this, chunking it into a manageable piece, and then I try to do it like that. And usually, what I do is, if it's talking about dance, which I'm having hard time doing it, if all the movements in the, say, for the limbs on the hand is just a simple movement, so I'm viewing it as a whole, right? I'm using this as an example to show you deconstructing, how I deconstruct things. So I'm using this, the dancing, and if, say, for example, I look at the hands, I'm viewing the dance as a whole, and then if I look at the patterns, I look at if there are repetitive movements, and then after that one, I look at it again, and look how difficult the movements of the limbs are and the legs. And then if I see that the movement of the hand is quite easy. Like it's there are no complicated movements on it. So I go to the limbs, and then if I see it's difficult, I concentrate on that, and then I try to divide it into three, and then if it's still complicated, dividing into three, divide it furthermore until I can say that I can do it step by step, and then start doing it, and from that it would be muscle memory. It will take a long time to do it, but it's how I do it. It's how I do it to learn that certain dance. Um, I don't know why I do practice martial arts, but I don't know why when it comes to dancing, I'm having a difficult time doing it. So that's how I do it with dancing. What else uh do effective way of learning? So learning it that you won't forget it, right? Is actually doing it. So you learn something, you try to do it. So because the thing there is that uh we say learning when we go to a seminar or go to an event or a lecture, we say that we are learning on that thing. I will not call that learning until I fully understand the information, the data, and I can fully manipulate or do things using that data, and then I can do a product, or I can what do you call that? I can use the skill that the outcome of, we say if the outcome is a skill, until I can use that, let's say even crudely, but I can still use it, then I call that learning. Learning is not just going to a lecture and then listening to the lecture and then just going out, maybe taking notes, taking a video, and then you say that you learned something from that lecture. No, you have to create an output using the information that you took from the lecture, and then doing things using that information, using that skill, if the outcome of that lecture is a skill, and then using it competitively. That is learning, right? Because if you say you learning, you know that's not learning, because you just copied an information but you didn't do anything about that information, and it didn't register to your brain. Learning is that taking the seed, that's the information, planting it in your brain, and then letting it grow by doing things using that knowledge that you had, and then letting it grow, and it grows, and the fruit will be the outcome. I mean, the fruit will be the the things that you did with that knowledge. That's how I view learning. Now, how can we keep it? How can we grow it? How can we not forget what we learn? So, say for example, you learn things. Say you have learned how to uh, do kicks in a martial arts class. So you're good now. And then how can you stay good? Because there will be, if you will not do that, then, and you go back to the gym, say for example, you learned it for a week and then you stopped for a month, go back after a month, and you try to do that for sure, you will look stupid doing that again. So how can you keep that skill? Of course, by doing it repetitively, right? Repetitively. Do it over and over and over again, regularly. I mean, I have this saying I shared in one of the seminar that I was given an opportunity to talk. I said, and I believe this, that all skills are perishable, right? All skills are perishable. It's like a vegetable. You get a vegetable from the market, you put it in a table, you don't put it in a fridge, or it will wilt, will decompose, it will perish. It's the same with the skills. Okay. Now to keep it fresh, use it daily. It's just what I said. All skills are perishable, all learnings are perishable. And to keep it fresh, you have to use it daily. Use it regularly, if not daily. Now, uh, one more thing, okay, in a learning is that uh, we have to understand the fact that knowledge is changing, right? The things that we know before that is good might be changed right now. Things like that. Say for example, look at their technology right now. Right now, people are saying that it's just a fiction, that time travel thing, maybe a fiction right now, but we don't know. Maybe in the future uh, that belief will change. I mean, a long time ago, we say that it's impossible to see other people from the other side of the world, right? And now we're doing it. We're having video call with our loved ones in the other side of the world, in the other country. It's a reality now, which is a fantasy way back in the olden days. So knowledge is changing fast. We have to accept that fact. So we have to put that in our mind to control our bias. One of the keys to learning, right? What else can we share about, can I say about learning? So, something that helped me is writing a journal of learning things on how to learn of what you have learned. Writing a journal, or I mean, talking it on a vlog. Say, for example, nowadays it's so easy to do a vlog because we have the technology in our pocket. Right now, I'm using my cell phone's camera as my camera for this podcast for those who want to view it. And writing a journal or vlogging, talking about it, will open your mind to some reflections, right? So when you write things, just write it down. That's journaling, right? You're writing it down, and then you're so immersed in writing it down, your mind is focused in it, and while your body is imprinting that information, and at the same time your mind is doing that weird thing of reflecting or trying to internalize that learning. It's an effective way of learning, journaling, or doing it in a sketch. Like if you're good at sketching, just drawing it. If you're good at vlogging, just talking about it in a vlog. It opens your brain to more informations on how to, or reflections of that, and it will make the deeper, it will make the learning deeper, right? So one of the keys to learning things fast, is learning memorizing. Is it learning? Well, maybe, I don't know. But maybe you were here because you want to learn how to memorize things. Still, understanding it well. That is the key. Understanding what you're memorizing would be one of the easiest way to digest it. Actually, memorizing is a skill that can be learned also. I read this book once of, I think there was a sport wherein the participants are competing on who can memorize the longest number. Say, for example, we know that the number of 4 pi is 3.1416, and then it goes long, right? So there's a competition doing who can memorize the longest and the equivalent of pi, or who can memorize longest number sequence of number correctly, who can memorize, they will flash some pictures, and then the participants will try to guess where those pictures are located. And that is a skill. Memorization is a skill, and there is training for that one. One of the common, I guess, which is often televised in a procedural movie, I mean, a television show like Sherlock. What else used what other television show used that one? Sherlock is the common one. The Memory Palace. So Memory Palace, way on how to improve your memory. So still we are in learning, but we talking about memory, learning how to memorize things. Is that the way Memory Palace work is you try to create a palace in your mind. I guess that's the gist, right? So that's why they call it a palace. There is a palace, and then the things that you try to memorize, you will try to place it on the different parts of that palace. That's how do you do that. Say your palace is stair, and then you want to memorize a certain thing or a certain number. You try to imagine that you've placed that number in that stair, and then the next number, and in the next place in a kitchen. Say for example, if your palace is a kitchen, it's like that. So you have to working your imagination like that, and then using it to um, memorize things. One also of the on the book that I read on the learning how to memorize is that uh, I mean, stereotyping is bad, right? Yeah, it is. But when it's the best way to say memorize names. Say for example, my case, I'm terrible with names. I can't remember names of people I met, and then uh, same with the author, the author of the book that I read. Um, what they did is that stereotypes people so he can remember the name. Of course, he will not tell them the stereotypes that about them, but say for example, he met some person, Josh person, so he would say, "Oh, and Josh has a long neck," so he would say, "Josh the long necked guy," something like that, just to memorize the name. Stereotyping is not good, but if it helps, then why not? As long as, of course, you're not use the one to demean other people. Um, what else? In memorizing things, chunking it also works. So, if you noticed, our cell phones, I mean, telephone numbers, long time ago, for those people who have seen how telephone numbers are being written. So 4422562. That is the, I don't know if it's still working, but I heard that way back when I was a young boy, and that was the telephone number of a radio station in Baguio City, wherein they were saying that if you have some concerns that needed action, you can just call 4422562 action line, something like that. And if you notice, the way we say numbers like that, we first, in the telephone numbers, we have the three numbers, right? So we divide it, we group the numbers into three and then four, something like that. So that is an example of chunking, right? So you can easily remember the number. You have to do it like that. It's chunking. So you can easily memorize it. And if you look at this our cell phone number, usually it goes like um, the first four numbers, and then the second three numbers, and then the last is the four numbers, something like that. Or first four, and the second group is four, and then last is three group of numbers, something like that. That is chunking. You try to group it so that you can easily memorize it. Nowadays, people don't do that because all the numbers of your friends and families are in your phones. So that is that right now, I think people are losing that skill. Memorizing is a skill. You remember long time ago when people don't have books, they memorize stories. That's why I think people long time ago in the olden times are more intelligent than us, maybe, because the Homer, who is the person who told the story of the Troy, Helen of Troy, Iliad, and Odyssey, he did not write that down. He told the story through word of mouth. He told it orally. And just imagine how he remembers that story. And he is going to tell that he tells that regularly. And the details of the story is well preserved from the first day that he told it until the last day. And then someone came along and wrote this story, something like that. The story of Mahabharata, I think that is an Indian literature, and that is also quite long. I think that's the longest story, and it was told through words of mouth, and it's quite long, right? But the storytellers memorized each of even the minute detail of it and told it over and over again without reducing those small details of the story. So maybe it's a skill that has lost its, lost its spark as time goes by. As technology comes along, it's still slowly losing its spark, or its shine, and nobody's interested already in memorizing. Still, memorizing. This is quite. This is like something weird because memorizing helps you to learn. At the same time, memorizing is something that we need to learn, right? Memorizing needs you helps you to learn, and then it brings you. It's like the bridge to when you memorize things. It's the bridge to understanding it deeper. From it's just an information that you know to understanding it deeper. Memorization is the bridge, right? But nowadays, it's a kind of being. It's a skill that's getting stink because of our technology. Nevertheless, it is still a skill that can help you learn. And it's a skill right now that we need to learn. Hey, it's learning things. Importance of it. Why is it so important learning? Because it keeps us young. Um, well, it's not young in a sense that you're immature, but it keeps you excited to wake up every day. Like every day there are things, new things that we need to learn, and that gives you the motivation to wake up and go go out, um, look at the world, and try to see things that you want to learn. Keeps the brain working, right? And data nowadays, data or information is as important as gold. Is as expensive as gold, and learning those data may help you go through life. Things like that. That's how important learning is. And because of the nature of the world, that I mean, the only constant in this world is change. Everything change, and if we don't adapt, we will be left behind, right? So that's the that's the beauty of knowing how to learn, or I mean learning how to learn. So to sum it up, it's like this: simplifying things, everything that you want to learn, simplify it. Um, be aware of your bias and just accept the information. Be aware of it. Try doing it regularly so that skill that you learn will not perish. And journaling or doing a vlog about the things you learn will help it fresh. Those things. Chunking things that seems to be so complicated will help. Right? The most important thing there is that just open your mind, be an open-minded person. Just forget your bias and be open-minded. That's the key to learning new things. So because I am alone, I'm gonna be ending up my podcast here. I am a proponent of long-form conversation. So if I have guests in my podcast, I would encourage it's a conversation that's long, talking about nonsense things, talking about interesting things, about the things I want to know about them. And right now, I'm talking about things that interest me. And if you listen to it, then thank you so much. If you did not, then thank you still for visiting a 30-second of it. So this podcast also is available in Spotify and in Google Podcast. So that's it for this episode, and I'll be seeing you again next time. Bye bye.